All right, welcome to Speak for Yourself. I'm Jason Whitlock. Cowherd is off today. All right, former 49ers safety Eric Reid has joined his former teammate Colin Kaepernick in a war against the NFL. On Wednesday, the 26-year-old free agent DB filed a grievance against the league, charging that ownership is colluding to keep him out of the NFL. It's the same allegation Kaepernick has made. Reid, of course, kneeled during the playing of the national anthem alongside Kaepernick throughout the 2016 season. They said they were kneeling to draw attention to the issue of unpunished police brutality perpetrated against unarmed black men. With Kaepernick out of the league in 2017, Reid continued his protest all season, and he bickered publicly and privately with players who negotiated financial support from NFL owners in exchange for ending the divisive protests. As the young people would say, Kaepernick and Reid sacrificed everything for the culture. The culture is millennial slang for young black culture. It's a rebellious collective voice heard most strongly via social media. It rails against cultural appropriation, keeps a running scoreboard on black victimhood, resists the Trump administration, and takes great pride in being unapologetically woke. Its disciples believe they're the smartest people on the planet, and anyone who questions their point of view is either stupid or a sellout. Kaepernick is their Muhammad Ali. LeBron James and Michael Bennett are the culture's John Carlos and Tommy Smith. Here's my question to the athletes pledging unconditional allegiance to the culture. What has benefited us more, sports culture or the culture? Take a minute and think it through. Don't respond with your gut, and let me walk you through a bit of history. Jesse Owens' dominance at the 1936 Berlin Olympics dealt Hitler a devastating psychological blow and made a black man America's national hero. 2 years later, Joe Louis did the same thing, knocking out German Max Schmeling in the first round of the most important prize fight in history. Jackie Robinson's integration in Major League Baseball in 1947 sparked the civil rights movement of the 1950s and 60s. Since the Civil War, nothing has done more to emancipate black people than America's love affair with sports and the cultural icons sports creates. Jesse, Joe, Jackie opened more doors for black people than Muhammad Ali. Ali's eloquence and rebellion importantly inspired pride among black people, but Jesse, Joe, and Jackie opened America's eyes to how much better our country would be if black people were allowed to fully participate in our great democracy. Sports culture has been our modern-day Underground Railroad to the mainstream economic and educational opportunities. My senior year of high school, me and my father shared a 400-square-foot, one-bedroom apartment in the hood. I can remember the Ball State football coach coming to our apartment for me to sign my national letter of intent. That was my ticket to a college campus and a chance to elevate my status in America. That's the power of sports. Sports change lives. They changed mine, they changed LeBron James, and countless other athletes who never get a whiff of a professional career. That's why it bothers me that so many black athletes today have so much reverence for and allegiance to a social media-driven culture as opposed to the very sports culture that transformed their lives. I'm not telling athletes to abandon having a social conscience and speaking out on tough social and racial issues. I'm saying don't be foolish in your actions and damage sports culture, the industry that has supported us the longest, most passionately, and most effectively. Kaepernick and Reid need to end their war on football, and we, black people, need to stop viewing football as our enemy. The culture is misleading us. All right, joining me now, two NBA players, Steven Jackson and Dante Jones, and a former NFL star, Greg Jennings. All right, guys, I want to discuss this. Someone help me understand why there's so much more passion, love, reverence for the culture among athletes than sports culture.
Well, first of all, let's define the culture. I think that's what we need to do first. I think people have their own definitions of the culture. Well, the culture is not just black. The culture is white, Mexican, whatever race you grew up around. You know, people, you say Kaepernick, you compare him to Ali. And in some type of way, he is, because they both stand for what they believe in, but the stakes for Ali was way higher. Kaepernick don't have that much to lose. All they're saying is you can't play football. It's different, but they're both standing up for what they believe in. You got to respect that. It's different generations and different times, so it's different cultures. You have to understand that the culture, when we grew up, our moms and culture, is different from how we grew up. We didn't grow up with our grandmother speaking to us. You need to do this, you need to do that. Our moms was a little light on us. You know, we didn't grow up in the social media era. You know, it's different. The culture is different. So, like I said, it's different generations of culture.
Who's done more for you, sports or the culture?
I
the
say,
suit you wearing, the house your mama's living in.
Right.
Who did that? The culture or sports?
I have them both side to side for the simple fact that the culture, my mom telling me how to treat people right and wrong, I can sit up here and say, I know how to treat people the way I want to be treated because I was taught that, okay? Basketball, I never been in trouble. The culture took care of me growing up. As soon as I get to the NBA, the same bright lights that pay you can make you that same monster. But people don't understand that.
You guys are saying the same thing, but from two different sides. I think you both are correct in the sense that sports has given us the platform to be able to say how we feel and make that relevant to our communities and the things that be able to affect and create change. We do have the responsibilities as athletes to not affect that platform, that source of wealth that we can affect change, and that ability to be in front of so many people to give them the inspiration to be able to go and do great things in this world. So, as having that much responsibility, we do have to not affect our bottom line and not be in those households, on those TVs, by not thinking before we act. We have to take the organizations into hand and be able to work with the organizations to be able to get out the voice that we do have and the things that we do want to give
I hear
society.
everybody talking about the platform that sports has given. And I think they've got it all wrong because when my mama is sitting in a house and driving a car and watching a TV right now that sports gave her.
But that's only one thing sports gave her. Sports, we do not, as athletes, we do not take on the inspiration that sports gave you as well. I gave Steve the example of, there was a little girl that came up to me in church and said, you know what? I followed you. You're from where I'm from. We're in Los Angeles together, but you're from my home city. You have given me inspiration by coming back, by playing in the D-League, by coming win a championship, to just continue on in life. That inspiration is as big as what you can do with your wealth. So as athletes, we have that platform as well. That platform to them see you strive, to see you fall, to see you pick yourself up again, that is as big as the wealth part of it. So we inspire more than we do anything as well.
Morals not built off money. Okay. Morals are not built off money.
I'm not reducing it all to money.
When I read this article, I thought to myself, man, this is awesome of Jason. He's using his platform, his influence, to showcase and to share his voice and his opinion. I should applaud him for that. That is amazing. The same thing that these young men are doing. There is no war against football. There is no war against sport.
Are you kidding me?
There is no war against sport. No, the war is not against sport. Because if it was against sport, they wouldn't be trying to get back into that sport that they have been knocked out of. No, it has not. In reading this, you said
NFL ownership and the NFL as some racist, evil monster is bogus and BS in comparison to all these other industries.
Why? Because they hired them?
No. In comparison to all the other industries, I don't see actors or other people demonizing Hollywood the way they try to do football and other sports and owners and things like that. We've done better in this industry than any of the other ones.
See, and that's the problem. We always try to concern ourselves and draw comparisons to other areas in life and other different platforms. No, we're talking about sport and we're talking about the culture. You want to talk about why these guys are doing it? They're doing it for themselves. They're doing it because this is what they believe in. They're not doing it because, oh, let me do this to make sure that I fit in. Yeah, does it give them a couple stripes? Possibly, but you think that they're thinking about when they standing up for what they believe, what they believe, they're thinking, I'm going to sacrifice everything. No, they're not thinking that it's going to just take away my opportunity to perform, to be given this opportunity that I've always had. They're not thinking that, but they're thinking, I want to share what I feel is right.
But unfortunately, as athletes, we have the responsibility to think that it could possibly go that way and that it could affect how we take care of our families.
Dante,
listen.
You got to be willing to take that.
No. You can take
gotta be
that,
willing to take
but I
that.
think you can take it in a more responsible fashion. I'm not saying he's wrong for doing what he's doing. However, we have a responsibility to think before we act because we have things at stake here.
Well, he thought.
So time out.
He thought.
So Jason thought about how he wanted to present this. It wasn't just a haphazard. He didn't come out and say, off his chest, blah, blah, blah. He took time and presented it correctly.
Hold on,
And I think we have a responsibility to package it the correct way to be able to continue to do what we love to do.
He talked to a Green Beret and asked him, how could I go out here and get my point across without disrespecting you and the flag if people don't know? And he told him the best way to do it is to kneel.
Steve.
He asked how to do it first. He didn't just do it, just go out there.
Absolutely.
He asked.
Steve, let's just keep it all the way 100.
That's 100.
Let's don't pretend like we've never seen a Kaepernick before. This is what bothers me about. Oh, let me finish. This is what bothers me about a Kaepernick.
We haven't.
Yes.
Who? Go ahead.
I've seen plenty of Kaepernicks.
Go ahead.
Guys that didn't grow up around black people. A black dude that didn't grow up around black people that tries to do too much to show how black he is.
How do you know if he grew up around black people?
Steve, he was
Did you grow up with him?
He was abandoned by his parents. It's all been written about.
That's assuming.
That's not assuming. He was abandoned by his parents and adopted by white folks and grew up in the suburbs.
So you mean to tell me a kid that's adopted ain't around biracial people?
So he can't just be doing this because this is what he believes is right?
I've seen it a million times. Yeah, he does think it's right, but he's also doing too much trying to get his black credibility over social media and be down with the culture. He didn't think it through.
This has nothing to do with black credibility.
I don't believe it has to do with black credibility. I just think he has to be able to take the time to compact what he has, how he wants to create change.
No.
And think about it in a responsible manner first before how he puts it out.
Hold on.
No. I didn't say it was irresponsible. What I'm saying
is the problem.
We as athletes have to convey the message in the most responsible way because obviously sports is as important to him as his message. He would not be working out right now. The hardest thing to do, as you know, is to work out every day without a goal, without a start date or an end date. He doesn't have that right now. So he works at football, trying to get back and play football because that's his love, that's his passion. However, he's conflicted with his passion for life and his passion for what he wants to do. Time out. He still wants to play football. He would have kicked football to the curb if he does not want to play football. But I think that he can have both, and I think we as athletes can have both. We can have our social, and we can convey to society how we feel and what the change that we want to affect. We have that ability.
Right.
We should do what he's doing, but in a way to be able to save the industry that we. No. They can't tell us, but we can. But we can take the time.
Here's my problem with this.
To work together, because if you work together, you cannot.
You
cannot do things by butting heads. You always have to work together. Collective responsibility.
So the owners, I'm talking about the owners right now because this whole idea of colluding against these two players. Yep. The owners, are you saying that they're doing it for the sports culture only and not their culture?
No, they're doing it because they're running a business. They're in it to make money. And these guys have taken actions that have hurt their business. And so they've moved on from that. That's any business has a right to do. You work here. Mm-hmm. If ownership decides to cut to commercial break right now, there's not a damn thing you can do about it.
Right.
And so every rule, every job has rules and regulations and things that are best for the business. Every owner has a right to demand and stipulate those things. For the 3 hours they're playing football, this is what they want to happen. All the 21 other hours during that day, you can do what the hell you want to do.
But one month don't stop no show.
The reason why I'm bringing the reason why I'm bringing the owners up is because they're doing it to save face as well. Because if it takes one owner to bring one of these guys in and say, I'll sign you, but you know what these other owners are going to look at them like? What are you doing?
They just signed Michael Bennett.
No, Michael Bennett, no, this is...
He was doing it too.
He's doing it in a different style, a different form, a different fashion. Just like you tried to talk about Jesse Owens, Jackie Robinson, and putting them against Muhammad Ali. It's not. Yes, you're basically saying which these guys did it the right way, Muhammad Ali didn't.
I did not say that. Because I don't have a problem with what Muhammad Ali did.
It's completely how you look at it.
Kaepernick is doing anything remotely
right now in the society we're living in, we have young people who are going to look at this and say, man, I can stand up the way these guys are because they don't know about Muhammad Ali. They don't know what he did. They don't know what Jackie Robinson did. So there's always going to be somebody that's going to have to stand for what they believe is right.
The conversation is different between the two sports. We take Colin Kaepernick, we take LeBron James. They both stand up for what they believe in. Am I correct?
Right.
However, the organizations handle it totally different. Adam Silver said, you know what? I see the problem. Let's work together. He never demonized them for wearing T-shirts. He never demonized them for speaking out. He worked with his athletes to be able to create a collective.
You can't kneel during the national
to create a collective agenda. So you can speak out and we can keep the product together. Roger Goodell never took any responsibility for the situation and said, yes, what he's standing for is wrong.
NBA
However,
has a rule that you can't kneel.
They let the negative perception permeate against Colin Kaepernick, which is wrong.
That's what they do. They do a great job of not having the guys that will kneel in the NBA.
You were in the NBA. You had an opportunity to kneel, and you didn't.
No, I didn't, because that wasn't going on then.
So you were a follower.
No.
You're not a leader. You were a follower.
No. He wasn't during the time.
When I was with the Clippers, right? I made a song and came out. The only one that made a song and a video about that situation. So I did speak up, and that's why I never got another job. Let's be real. That's why I never got a job, because I came out with a video with Scarface about that situation, talking about the NBA. That's why I'm not in the NBA, and that's what the real is. So I did speak out.
And who are we to say, to judge somebody by what they're willing to sacrifice and what you're not willing to sacrifice? It's just like saying, like the slaves that chose to survive and jump in the Atlantic Ocean, and those who were saying, I'm not going to do that, I'm just going to endure. We appreciate them both. We can draw parallels to both.
The guys that jumped off the boat died. They chose death. Kaepernick has jumped off the boat but said, send me a life preserver. I'm going to sue y'all if y'all don't put me back up on this boat.
No, they didn't choose. It wasn't that they chose death. It wasn't that they chose death. They chose not to endure and go through what they knew was ahead of them. And that's not...
Not to endure and go through what?
I'm not, and I can't judge them for that.
Millions of dollars the NFL was paying them. Oh, boy, what a hardship.
No,
Colin Kaepernick got out over his skis. He didn't think it through. He's not standing on anything. I hate the comparison to Muhammad Ali because no one wants to deal with the fact Muhammad Ali was backed by Malcolm X, the Nation of Islam, and Elijah Muhammad, a religious sect. Colin Kaepernick is out here with his girlfriend and Twitter. And that ain't near a bit of substance to what he did. And he's hurting the NFL. He's got a bunch of followers all applauding him as he burns himself up and hurts the NFL. And this is stupid for us as black men to sit here and watch the NFL or any of these sports leagues that we've been dominant in and have given us opportunities. I never even got a drop of NFL. I barely played in the Mid-American Conference. But I know what football did for me, and I know what sports has done for all of you. And we need to quit acting like sports is somehow the enemy and the culture and everybody applauding us over Twitter is more important than sport.
But the people who's taught me how to treat people and on my road to the NBA mean just as important to me as a game. People mean more important to me than a game. I'm sorry.
My mother.
It's just
football doesn't mean more to me than my mother, father, sister, brother, a bunch of folks. But I'm not going to sit by idly and watch people attack football and sports when we don't fully realize
nobody's attacking it.
That's where
if Ben Farr's attacking it, then we need to change that definition.
They're not attacking football. This is not a war against football.
And smearing the
because they won't give them an opportunity to play any longer.
They shouldn't have blown it. All right, welcome back to the show. Greg Jennings is back. We're joined now by Super Bowl champion Dwight Freeney and the founder of the Big Lead, Jason McIntyre. Let's move to Matt Ryan, who just signed a massive 5-year deal with the Falcons worth $30 million per year with $100 million guaranteed. Both are NFL records, dwarfing the mega deal signed by Kirk Cousins and Jimmy Garoppolo this offseason. Gentlemen, I don't have a problem with it. I like Matt Ryan. He was the MVP 2 years ago. He had a bad season. I think it was because I didn't like the offensive coordinator this past year. I'm putting the blame, Sarkisian, I'm putting the blame all on him. I think he'll rebound. I think when Kirk Cousins got the money that he got, you got no choice but to start paying these quarterbacks that are better and more proven all this money.
Without question. I'm all in with this. This is bravo. Bravo. I love it for the simple fact that these guys, quarterbacks, they run your team. We understand that this is a quarterback-driven league. We all know this. These guys do the majority of the work. Matt Ryan, I struggle with his production last year because he has to be more consistent regardless of offensive coordinator, play calls. You have to demand more of yourself and of your team. And that's the only knock I have on Matt Ryan. Other than that, I mean, this is a great deal for the league, great deal for Matt Ryan and other players.
Well, obviously, I played with Matt. And I know what Matt actually put in and day out. Tremendous athlete, tremendous student of the game. I think last year wasn't his greatest year. We all seen that statistically, but it was also a tough year for him. You know, he went from a great coordinator the year, Shanahan. He was very comfortable in that system. And all of a sudden you switch systems and now all of a sudden maybe things don't, blend as well. Does that make him a worse athlete? Did it make him a worse, competitor? No, it's just that it wasn't his greatest of years. But I think it's well-deserved, hats off to him. I'm happy for him, It's great.
Hey, whether it is a house, franchise, a quarterback, you are what the market says you're worth. And if Matt Ryan were to hit the market, he would definitely get $30 million. So I think it's a great move by the Falcons. I do want to say one thing. He's turning 33 years old, I believe, this month. They just added Calvin Ridley in the draft, who's a top-flight receiver. If this team doesn't get back to a Super Bowl, I think then Matt Ryan has to accept a lot of the blame because there's people in the NFL that would argue he's maybe the third best quarterback in his division. Okay, and he's now getting $30 million a year.
Who are the other two?
Well, Drew Brees is in there and Cam Newton. You're talking about two top-flight quarterbacks.
Second.
I'm just saying, Matt Ryan has got to deliver. They've got to win a Super Bowl. You're getting $30 million a year. I want to see a Super Bowl.
The next guys up are Russell Wilson and Aaron Rodgers. But when I hear this number, I actually think of Tom Brady, who has always taken a little less money throughout his career. And I wonder what this contract will do to Tom Brady in terms of he seems to be at a crossroads with Bill Belichick and the organization a little bit. Someone just got $100 million guaranteed. If I'm Tom Brady, I got to sit there and come holler at me.
Well, I think that, Tom's already made, he's at 40-plus years. He's 40 years old plus, understand? And I think he understands that, look, I have my championships. I've made my money. I want to make this team great. I think that's what it is with Tom, is that he understands those things to where as though I don't need to be the highest paid quarterback in the league. He's willing to sacrifice a little bit of certain things to win because winning is more important.
Right. That's not how it works. That is not how it works. Look, not for them quarterbacks either. Yes, you have a great point there. And with everything that's been transpiring over in New England and with Tom Brady's approach, I think he is going to be like, what? I'm done just taking less when everyone's calling me the GOAT. I think he's feeling himself a little bit, and I can't knock him for doing so.
Wait, it's like a guy at 41 years old is going to ask for Matt Ryan type money?
Has he fell off? Has he fallen off? Has he fallen off?
We will see this season.
No. We can say that about Matt Ryan as well, who just signed a $30 million deal.
33 years old, MVP 2 years ago.
The league doesn't work in a way of the older you get, the more money you get. It just doesn't happen that way. Regardless,
I get that.
Listen, regardless of the position, and I don't know, you name one position right now, I can't, where you're 40 years old and you're going to make more than that guy who's 30 years old or 29 at that position or 28. Now, regardless of the fact that, hey, we can sit here and argue and say, hey, Brady is the best quarterback in the league and all, hey, great. But is he going to get more than the highest paid quarterback in the league right now? I don't think so.
We got to go. I want to check Tom Brady's Instagram. All right, welcome back. Steven Jackson and Dante Jones are back. We're joined now by Fox NBA analyst Chris Broussard. Let's move to Houston. where the Jazz stunned the Rockets last night, and not just with that insane dunk by Donovan Mitchell, Utah jumped out to a huge lead and then hung on for dear life to steal home court advantage from the top seed Houston. After the games, James Harden admitted his team lost focus.
We came out a little too lax days ago. We were just, kind of going through the motions or whatnot. But, at the end of that second quarter, third quarter, we picked it up. And, it's a pretty good team down there. So if we give any team, especially in the postseason, that kind of confidence, it's pretty tough.
And we can correct our energy and we can correct the necessary focus that we need to have. And, you get lulled into sleep. You think this stuff's easy. It's not easy. It's the NBA. It's semifinals. It's not easy. And we kind of lulled into it, and we paid for it.
Confident sound like, right?
I'm not, I'm
confident.
I'm just as confident as D'Antoni. I'm not going to overreact because I don't think we learned anything last night. I knew Quinn Snyder was a better coach than Mike D'Antoni. Mm-hmm. That's what happened.
Right.
I feel like they were lackadaisical. I think they'll recover. I didn't even really like the way Utah closed out the game. I thought they were sloppy and took some bad shots early in the shot clock, did some dumb things. Quinn Snyder's a hell of a coach. Joe Ingles was hot as hell last night. Great. I still think Houston takes back control of this series and wins in 5.
Yeah, Houston definitely has the better player in James Harden. But I look at another note yesterday in the game. Utah did something that no other team has done to James Harden. They found one guy in O'Neal. Your whole focus is to annoy James Harden. As a basketball player, as a defender, we both defenders. We know. Great scorers, you cannot stop them. What you did me all the time, just ignore him. Even if they get 30, make it the toughest 30 they ever got in their life. James was struggling. He was pushing off, got some offensive fouls, got in foul trouble. I think the way they played defense, that was, like I said, it was all coaching. It was all coaching, but the way they played defense was definitely the reason why they won their game.
It made him think about not playing basketball at that point in time. Now he was just thinking about how to get their collective defenders back.
Right.
And they put them in a situation where you got to go play 2 games in Utah, and that's one of the best home court advantages in basketball. They don't get enough credit. Quinn has his team peaking at the right time. Like this whole playoff situation in basketball is about peaking at the right time and the right matchup. Mm-hmm. These guys are real, and they're getting better as games go on. They're not plateauing. They're getting better, and you're finding out different ways and they can win. They're junking the game up, and they're not relying on one thing. They have different options. Donovan Mitchell's been leading them, but different guys step up. They defend, and they have a great coach. Mm-hmm. They're dangerous. This is not a definitive situation where we can say.
So you think this game last night was significant?
I think it was significant because they even play better against Golden State if that's where they got to go after this. Like they're 3-1 against Golden State, Utah during the season.
Any win on the road in the playoffs.
So getting home court advantage back is tough because we didn't even count them in and beating OKC. Everyone is in consensus about OKC, but what they did is they proved that they can play. They're for real. They have a star and they can defend. Yeah. And that makes him dangerous in the series.
Utah is for real. I'm still sticking with Houston to win the series. Mm-hmm. But look, Mike D'Antoni has the lowest playoff win percentage among active coaches in the last 25 seasons. And last night we saw why. I mean, we've seen it time and time again. He has a lack of attention to detail. Mm-hmm. Look at his comment after the game. Energy, focus. Lulled into sleep. Like, where the detail? Where's the strategy? And Quinn Snyder, he doesn't make adjustments. Mm-hmm. Pop would outcoach him when he was in Phoenix. Quinn Snyder's going to outcoach him now. God forbid if they get to the next round, he's going to get outcoached by Steve Kerr because you guys know better than me. Playoffs are about adjustments, right? Yes. Game to game. Yes. Is Mike D'Antoni making any adjustments?
I don't think he has.
He's like, this is how we play.
It's their style.
We're going to win or lose this
Are we all letting Chris Paul and James Harden off the hook? They don't have a great playoff resume either.
Well, and that's been the thing. James has been great in regular season the last couple of years and getting to the playoffs and having letdowns. Yeah. Neither one of them are champions. Nobody over there is champion. So I expected that game to be better than what it was. I expect them to come out and try to end Utah, and they didn't. Going to Utah, they have problems now because you're giving this young team confidence. And like he said, it's hard to win in Utah. It's hard.
Chris Paul, to your point, 9 turnovers in the first 2 games. I mean, Chris is one of the most sure-handed point guards ever in the regular season. Mm-hmm. But
that
now
turnover late in the game against Gobert.
That was big.
Against Gobert.
That was
Utah has found a way to turn him over and to be defensively efficient against a high-powered offensive team. That's going to be tough. That's going to be a tough mountain to climb. I'm not saying it can't happen, but you need adjustments to be able to climb that mountain. And you don't have the best coach for adjustments, so you're in a tough situation.
You can't come out in the press conference and be like, well, we didn't really play. You know, we just knew we blew them out last game, so we just came out, just thought we was going to blow them again. They're not that good. That's really what we wanted to say. We just feel like we can come out and beat them on our worst day.
That's basically
and that's how they played. And that's basically what he said.
Joe Ingles.
No respect.
Joe Ingles, I think he hit 7 threes last night.
They had
That's
him
not happening.
like Larry Bird.
But that needed to
At
happen.
home? Them
that
shots
needed,
fall at home.
Right, that needed to happen on the road to get you that win.
Yes.
Now you can be the Joe Ingles, and then you're going to have other people step up because you're at home. You have the confidence of the home crowd. So Joe Ingles needed that performance just for the road game. It's going to even out when we get back to Utah with the elevation as well.
Are you picking Utah?
I'm not.
I would pick Utah in this situation only because they got this game.
Wow.
I think they're dangerous at home. So
Yes.
I'm counting 2 games at home. Now Houston's going to have to do something that I don't necessarily think they can do is take home court advantage back from them. They may take that next game in Houston.
make it 2.
Right, but then you got to come back in Utah and play again, and that is the hard part. That's where they put them in a bind.
All right, to Toronto, where the Raptors will try to rebound tonight after turning a double-digit lead in Game 1 into an overtime loss, as DeMar DeRozan and Kyle Lowry vanished down the stretch. Yesterday, DeRozan was asked about his team's mood after blowing that game.
We should have won. We should have had that game and was more so like, damn, now we got to wait to redeem ourselves, to get this feeling off us. All of the confidence hasn't went anywhere. If anything, it heightened to even want to get back out there. If we had the opportunity to come out and play tonight, we would have played tonight.
I've got a weird take on this series. I think Cleveland's and LeBron's gonna embarrass them again tonight, but I still think it's a 6 or 7 game series. I love Cleveland in the business suits, on the road, with a business mentality. They had one of the worst records at home, Cleveland did, against the spread all during the regular season. I like them better on the road, completely focused. I think LeBron tonight is going to be desperate because I think he wants rest, and he'd like to end this series as soon as possible.
This next game is Game 7
Yeah.
for both teams. If Toronto loses this game, it's a sweep. Confidence-wise, they're in the tubes. If Cleveland wins this game, they know they can take this whole series. So this is the most important game of the series for Toronto because they lose all confidence if they lose this next game. They have the environment in Toronto. It's basically USA versus Canada when you play at Toronto in a playoff game. However, they have to take advantage of it. If they can't get this game, you're in a bind. You can't come back from that.
The worst thing in the world happened to Toronto that could happen. LeBron have a bad game, the bench players get a rhythm, and they win. They're in trouble now. You didn't let J.R. Smith, KK Love, you didn't let all these guys get a rhythm. You D'd up LeBron well last game. He had a tough game, and they were still able to win. LeBron ain't going to play bad tonight.
No,
He's going to come out and have a crazy game. And if J.R. and K-Love hitting, they don't have a chance.
Yeah, look, I think Cleveland can beat them in 5 if they want. Cleveland gets complacent. You were on the team. You know they get complacent at times, I think. I think now even more so, even in games against Indiana. I thought there were games in that series where Cleveland would get out to a big lead and then kind of let their foot off the gas. Next thing you know, it's a 2-point game, it's a 3-point game, and they have to play big. I think they'll probably let go a little bit. They're saying in their minds they want to go out and win and go up 2-0, but I think they'll let go a little bit, and that's why they could lose and let them back in the series.
Let me throw a curveball at you all. We didn't prepare for this, but I just want to throw it. You're calling this a Game 7, most important game for Toronto. If Toronto loses tonight and gets embarrassed in this series, does Toronto need to mark Jackson, Dwayne Casey, and say he can't get us to the next level? We need to bring another coach in here?
Well, you got to put some of that ownership on the players too now. The coach can only do so much. Now, I was one guy that said, I think this is going to be DeMar DeRozan come out party. They got up 20. I thought he was good enough to go out there and finish the game for him. The stars is letting us down too. So if you want to talk about the coach letting us down, let's talk about the players too.
They don't have a superstar. Generally to get to the conference finals, you need a superstar. It happens occasionally if you don't have one, but they don't have that. And every superstar they've had, Vince Carter, Tracy McGrady, Chris Bosh, they've left. So they just got a bunch of guys that'll be happy in Toronto. DeMar is a star, I wouldn't say superstar. Lowry has become a star, but man, he was a journeyman before he got to Toronto, and then everybody else is guys from different countries that'll be happy there. I don't know much that they can do other than be a good, solid team and their fans be happy with getting in the playoffs.
I agree with you. They don't have a guy in the fourth quarter that can dominate a game and take the game home for her, especially against LeBron James. That's their weakness. That's their kryptonite. That's the person that they can't. That's the team and the person they can't get over.
That's the whole league.
But some teams have adjustments.
Somebody
and
jump in
coaching
front of this bullet. Somebody jump in front of this bullet. Do they have better personnel than Utah? And Utah is taking on the top team in the league right now. Does Toronto have better personnel than Utah?
No.
Gobert is
Defensive player of the year, might be defensive player of the year. You got Donovan Mitchell.
Rookie of the year.
Rookie of the year. Possible
Cold
rookie of the year.
rookie of the year.
That's too. That was a bad question.
And Snyder, look.
It wasn't no Andrew Wiggins who played it. It wasn't that bad. All right, welcome back to the show. Dwight Freeney and Greg Jennings are back. Let's move to Dez Bryant, who is still without a job since getting cut by the Dallas Cowboys and might not be getting a new one anytime soon. According to a new report from Adam Schefter, most teams wouldn't even sign Dez for the league minimum, which probably has him regretting turning down a multi-year deal from the Ravens. I'm not sure if I even buy the Ravens' offer, because if the market is this bad for Dez, why would the Ravens be silly enough to offer a multi-year deal? Dez Bryant is done. And I think done for several reasons. I do think at some point someone will offer him the minimum, but there's just no way in hell Dez Bryant will be happy playing for the minimum. He'll be a headache, and a team will just figure it ain't even worth it. He had a good run, and it ended too soon because I don't think he ever really respected the craft of the game. He came in and dominated with his physical talent, and that's only going to carry you so long in that league.
That's the key right there. I don't think he's done. Let me say that. But his numbers, although they have tailed off drastically, this is who Dez Bryant is. And for some, you mentioned perfecting his craft and taking it seriously. I'm sitting next to a man who we just were talking about this. The spin move was your number one go-to. And some people say when you have something that works, don't forget about that. Strengthen that. Work on the other things, but don't lose sight of what got you here. Dez Bryant never really quite had anything that he hung his hat on. He never was a great releaser off of the line of scrimmage. Route running was never his strength. He never had great hands. He just was a playmaker. He was a 50-50 guy. Like, that was what he did. Now, to say he's completely done, I don't think he's done, because he can offer somebody something. He can provide an offense with that spark every once in a while. He's not a number one guy, maybe not even a number two guy, but he can definitely add to your offense.
Well, I understand where y'all coming from. I honestly do. You look at the numbers, and it shows a decrease. But I do know this. I've played long enough to know that the system has a lot to do with why numbers aren't what they seem. Now, they have Ezekiel Elliott. Now they run the ball majority of the time. You have a rookie quarterback who doesn't read coverages great. So you have a run-first offense. You have a quarterback who is not like Romo. When Romo was there, they would throw the ball 40 times a game, and Dez would get his, okay? And the numbers would be there. Now, as far as is anything decreasing as far as his technique and fundamentals? Maybe. Okay, maybe.
Speed.
Listen,
but
what happens is when you get older in this game, that is going to happen. His numbers now, I don't think that it's that bad to where as though his numbers should show what it's showing. Okay, I feel like it's the system that he is in right now based on where the Cowboys are going. It's going to be running the ball, okay, and Dak is not going to be slinging it 30, 40 times to have a guy like Dez there paying him $12 million. Now, will he be a force or a player somewhere else? I think he will be, maybe not the same Dez, but I think that it warrants other team to pick him up. I think he's done enough in his league to do that. Now, I'm not saying he's going to be somebody's number one, okay? But I feel like he has enough skill set to go out there and be a force on another team.
My response for the system deal is this. Every system makes a player better when it's a good system. But when you're in a broken system, a system that doesn't so much suit you, what makes you a great player, the player that we thought Dez Bryant was and that we wanted him to be, this is why Dez Bryant was never really truly a great player. Because great players, despite the system that they're in, makes an impact. And when given the opportunity, he makes plays.
Let me add one thing.
And that's what was lacking.
Let me add, because here's where I think I agree with Greg. When you talk about Dez can go someplace else and maybe be a 2 or a 3, I think when you're the 2 or the 3, the rapport with the quarterback has to be like Marvin Harrison, Peyton Manning. Peyton Manning knew where Marvin Harrison was going to be every snap, every defensive adjustment. He could count on Marvin Harrison. You've never been able to count on Dez. He's not a student of the game. He's not a great route adjuster. He's not as reliable as the great receivers like a Marvin Harrison. And so when you go to a new system and you're the 2 or 3 guy, if the quarterback can't count on you, if you're not where you're supposed to be all the time, they don't need you.
Well, here's the thing. It's easy for us to sit here right now today and say he wasn't where he was supposed to be based on the stats and his production. But that may not necessarily be the case all the time. I do feel like there has been some drop-off. I think there has to be something, okay, for Dallas to do what they've done. But for it to be that dramatic and drastic to where as though you go from a guy who was, you know, on everybody's A-list or whatever as a star to now he's done, it's completely, I think that's too much to say about Dez. Now, we'll see what happens if he gets into a new system, I feel, to where as though it's better suited from now. He gets a chance to pick somewhat of to where he wants to go with a quarterback who throws the ball maybe first, and maybe he gets some stats, and maybe we'll see what happens. But I'm not sold on Dez is done.
Dez is done. All right, welcome back. Time for last call. Steven Jackson is here. We just saw Charles Barkley apologizing to Draymond Green for saying he wanted to punch Draymond in the face. Steven, are you as satisfied with that apology as I am?
Well, hey, I was excited to get you a shout out. I didn't know you was the big homie.
Of course, man.
Okay, so you are the big homie.
Yeah.
Okay, you know, I feel like you strong-armed him with. I feel like that apology sound like, well, I'm going ahead and say this and apologize because the big homie Wick called me on my phone and told me to apologize. I don't mean it, though. Perfect example. Same thing happened to me. I posted something on Matt Barnes' page yesterday, and my mama called me, take that down. I didn't want to, but I did. I think that's the same situation Barkley was in. You kind of strong-armed it.
And I may need to strong-arm you from time to time, too.
I'm with it.
So
if
I'm
it's
going to blow your
beneficial.
phone up. All right, to Toronto, where reportedly the NBA warned Drake for his use of bad language after the rapper got into a verbal confrontation with Kendrick Perkins. Steven, you've been known to get into it with fans. Are you like me? Would you like to punch Drake in the face?
Nah, I wouldn't want to punch Drake. One thing about it, one thing I know about Drake is he's a diehard basketball fan, and we all know everything he's saying on the court, he's not saying it to, I want to meet you in the back and fight. That's not Drake. That's not his person. That's not who he is. He loves the game.
A diehard basketball fan or an attention-starved rapper who just shows up anywhere and just puts on any jersey, bandwagon groupie fan? You sure?
Well, no, he's a Toronto. He's an ambassador for that team.
And Kentucky and whoever else is.
You go to Atlanta, you see Migos, 2 Chainz at all their games. The basketball players want to be rappers. Rappers want to be basketball players. They go hand in hand.